Hey, what's up guys? And welcome back in to the garage. Now, in today's video, we're going to be covering one of the most important routine maintenance steps that you can take in the ownership of your vehicle, and that is the oil change. In this video, you're going to see me conduct the oil change on my 2000 Toyota 4Runner, and I'm going to be showing you the steps that I take at every single interval, which is around 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Now, depending on your model or your brand or your year, the steps that you take in particularity could change a little bit with your own oil change. However, these steps that I outline in this video will be able to give you the confidence that you need to successfully change the oil in your vehicle. So many of us out there are still taking our vehicle to these big box retailers so that their employees can change the oil for us. And while that does serve a purpose, I really believe that by changing the oil in your vehicle, it will allow you to empower yourself with more knowledge about your car. You'll be able to see what might be coming down the line and be able to be more proactive at preventative maintenance. So I'm hoping you guys really enjoy this video, and please make certain to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay on top of all the content that I put out in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the engagement. I really appreciate all the likes. Till next time. Now, for every oil change that I make, I choose this Pennzoil Platinum High Mileage Full Synthetic product. I have used this for a long time, and I believe in it. I love this product. As you can see here, I have 6 quarts. I have a 5 quart and a 1 quart, and that's what I use on every oil change. As far as the filter is concerned, I'm a firm believer in sticking with the Toyota OEM, and this is the oil filter that I choose. For the drain plug washer, I use this 90430-12031. And as you can see, I just bought a pack of them. I moved them over into my own package there. Obviously, that's not a Toyota package, but I keep them on hand and I replace the washer every oil change. If you don't have the washer for the drain plug, then certainly you may not need to change it. I don't think it's completely necessary, but if yours is in rough shape, then definitely you'll want to change it. But if you don't have a washer on hand, go ahead and change your oil, and then the next time around, be prepared and get yourself the washer. Now, the first step is to get underneath the vehicle and remove the skid plates. In my case, you can see I have a front and a rear skid plate. Both of these will be removed. Now, it's not completely necessary for me to remove the skid plates in order to conduct this maintenance, but man, it sure goes a long way in making it easier and cleaner. Another big benefit to doing this is that it allows you to see the totality of your engine bay from underneath and to be able to get in front of any other potential issues that may be coming up in future maintenances. One big thing to look for is oil leaks and where that leak may be coming from. So let's get these skid plates removed. Now, when I'm conducting my oil changes, I always make certain I have something down to catch any stray fluid that might not be caught in the oil catch. And in that case, this is a drop cloth I'm using. I've also got plenty of shop rags on hand, which I highly recommend. So we're gonna go ahead and throw the oil catch down there to be prepared for when we take our drain plug out. And we're gonna get the necessary tools and go on to the next step. So here we are underneath the vehicle. We've got a good shot of the oil pan, the drain plug, and the oil filter to show you guys. And here's our pan, and this is the drain plug. It is a 14 millimeter in size. And if you follow it straight up from there, where my hand is now, you'll be able to see the oil filter. Now, if you remove the skid plates on this application, you'll be able to get this oil filter off real easily and get it drained. There is an alternative route to get to this oil filter, and I'll show you that path if you choose to take that. Now, one other tip I would say is that you might be able to see that my oil pan is pretty clean, and that's on purpose. The reason I do this is I fully believe that every single oil change, clean your pan up and make certain that when you go back to conduct your next oil change, you'll be able to clearly identify any types of issues such as leaks or debris. And it's just something that takes
very little time, and to me has a high reward and a high yield on the back end. So just a little tip, clean up your oil pan. It'll make life a lot easier.
All right, guys, so here we are on the front driver's side wheel well. And as you can see, we have this material here that keeps debris out of the engine bay. It's held in by these body panel clips. Removing a couple of those clips, you can peel this back, and as you can see, right there is your oil filter. So this is your alternative path to be able to get to the oil filter and unscrew it from this direction if you're not underneath the vehicle. All right, so my first step that I always take at the top is to go ahead and remove the oil cap. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove it, and we're gonna place it off to the side on top of a shop rag. Then we're gonna come through with the dipstick, and I'm gonna pull the dipstick up just a little bit and leave it right there. All right, so now we're ready to get the old oil out of the vehicle. We're gonna take our 14mm socket, and we're gonna break that drain plug free. And what I do is I get it going here with the ratchet, and then I do the rest by hand. The reason I do this is because I don't want to lose the bolt in the oil catch, and I prefer to hold on to it so that the oil doesn't shoot it out. All right, so the oil is almost fully drained, and next step is going to be to remove the oil filter. This can become messy, so you'll get better at it as it goes, but because of the location of it, we want to make certain to have our oil catch at a good location underneath the oil pan. And I'm going to reach up here and go through the front, have my hand on the oil filter, and start to unscrew it slowly and allow it to drain. Now that I have it fully unscrewed, I'm going to go ahead and reach my right hand up and bring the oil filter down into the oil catch and allow it to drain the remainder of the way. Now, at this stage in the process, you just want to take a step away. Let your oil drain for about 10 to 15 minutes so that we can get all of the old oil completely out of the engine. All right, so it's been 15 minutes and all of our old oil has successfully drained out of the engine, so we're on to the next step here. We're ready to put the drain plug back in, and we've cleaned it up and inspected it to make certain that the threads and the plug is in good condition, which it is. We also have a new drain plug washer that we're going to use and marry up with this drain plug. Now, the torque spec on this drain plug is 29 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, or you're not going to torque it down with a torque wrench, you just want to make certain to get it nice and torqued onto the drain pan and real nice and snug. You don't want to over torque it. If you do, you're going to get yourself into a world of hurt. So let's go ahead and get it put back in. Now, with your drain plug back in, you're ready to put your oil filter back in. Now, just to keep in mind, there really is no rhyme or reason. You can put your oil filter back on first, then your drain plug second. I just always do the drain plug first. So we're going to remove our oil filter here from the packaging, and the Toyota oil filter comes with this plastic protective sleeve on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and remove that first. Once that's off, your oil filter has this rubber O-ring or gasket around it. Now, you want that to be lubed prior to putting it back and sealing it up against the engine block. One thing that I always do is make certain to get some of the new oil I'm using and pour it into the oil cap. Once I have it in the cap, I'll put a little bit on my finger and I'll take it and rub it around that O-ring, around that gasket, just to lubricate it before installation. Now we're ready to install the oil filter back onto the engine. Now keep in mind, you're going to screw the oil filter back onto the block, and once you get to a nice and snug fit, you're going to finish it by doing a 3/4 turn after that, and that's going to be snugging it up where it needs to be. All right, guys, so we have our drain plug snugged back in. We've got our oil filter on at the proper level, and we are ready to put our new oil. So again, we're using the Pennzoil Platinum High Mileage. It's a full synthetic product. The capacity of these V6 engines is 5.5 quarts of oil. So we have our 5 quart and our 1 quart, and we're ready to go. So the way I started is I take my dipstick out and I'm gonna wipe it clean of any of the old oil, any of the residue that existed there from before the oil change, and we're gonna slide it back in. Now I'm not gonna seat it all the way down. I'm just gonna slide it into where it gets held in place. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this air hose, and I like to move it out of the way here so that I can get my funnel in. Now, one big tip on funneling. When you use your funnel, you wanna make certain to have a clean funnel. As the oil enters in this funnel, it's gonna pick up any lint and any debris that's inside of this funnel. So I always take a microfiber that's clean and I wipe the inside of my funnel out before we use it. We're gonna seat our funnel down inside here, and we're gonna get to going with our oil. Now, with the knowledge that my engine holds 5.5 quarts, I will go ahead and pour the entire 5 quart in right away. Now we have 5 quarts in, so what we're gonna do is go ahead and take the quart bottle, and I'm gonna almost pour up to 5.5 quarts, which is the capacity. Now, one tip, obviously, if you don't do oil changes a lot, you won't know this, but you have markings on the side of your quart bottle that allows you to see how much you're pouring. So make certain to use this, and you won't go wrong in regards to how much of this bottle you use. All right, so now I've got almost 5.5 quarts of new oil back into my engine. Now that I do, I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back in, start the engine, and let it run and get warm. Once that happens, I'm gonna turn the engine off, wait about 3 minutes for the oil to settle, and then check my oil levels on my dipstick. All right, guys, so we have run our engine up to normal operating temperature, and we have now turned it off, and it's been sitting for about 5 minutes. The first thing we're gonna wanna do in order to properly check our oil levels is to take our dipstick out and wipe it clean. You don't want anything on this dipstick when you check the oil level. Now we're gonna insert it back in, and you're gonna seat it all the way in. Once you seat it in, take it out very carefully, and you're going to check the oil levels. Now you wanna maintain that you're on a flat ground and a level ground as you check your oil. Now you can see that there's 2 indentions in your dipstick. They almost look like 2 little dots. The oil level is currently right past that first dot. My goal is to get in between those 2 dots. You see, the first dot, or the lowest one, is your low fill level. And the top dot, or the second one, is your high fill level. If you go over that second dot or the top dot, it's considered an overfill, and you don't want that. When we're doing a new oil change, our goal is to hit dead center middle. So we're almost there. And if you remember, I did fill this up with about 5.3 to 5.4 quarts, and the capacity says it's 5.5 quarts. So this is about what I expected to see. But when we're doing an oil change, we don't want to overfill it, because you certainly don't want to have to go through that hassle. So let's go ahead and put a little bit more in, and we'll hone it in and dial it in to get the perfect level. All right, guys, we have our oil level honed in exactly where it needs to be, and we're ready to tidy everything back up. We checked for leaks underneath the vehicle from the oil filter, from the oil plug, and elsewhere, and we're looking really good. But one final tip I have for you guys, and that is this skid plate here. Clean it off, right? It's something that I do every oil change. I make certain before I put the skid plate back on to clean this surface off. And the more you do it, just to be honest, the easier it is. It takes me a couple of seconds with some degreaser, and I clean it off. And the reason I do is the same reason I told you I keep a clean oil pan. And that's to make certain that when I go to change the oil and I take this skid plate off, I can kind of see the evidence of what's been going on in between my oil changes. So I would highly suggest that you guys do this. It's a great tip, it's easy, and it helps you locate any potential issues. Let's get it put back on.